Hello and welcome to another unmonetized, unsponsored, public domain video on the Slingshot channel. It's really refreshing. I've been turning down so many requests for sponsorships again, and it really felt good, even though, of course, that is serious money that I let swim away, but it feels so much better to be independent. In the last video, I built a replica, a miniature size, of the famous Chinese Shukonu crossbow, repeating crossbow actually. And this one is only chambered for IKEA pencils, but it works just like the original. So all you have to do is repeat the action and the thing will shoot. And you can do this rather quickly. But it has many disadvantages. It's not accurate, it doesn't allow for a lot of aiming, and also you sometimes have the problem that things hop up in the magazine, and then of course, because there's only gravity feeding it, even though I have a metal follower here, this is fairly unreliable. So I built an enhanced version and showed it to you last time as well. This one here, it fires the same IKEA ammunition that you can get for free, I think, in any IKEA store around the world. It has a few enhancements. First of all, it has a lever that presses down on the pencils in the magazine, so they can't really hop up, so it shoots much more reliably. But you can also see that it has a trigger and also this lever here that locks the system, so that if you keep your thumb on this lever here and also pull the trigger, then you can shoot it just like the original Shukonu. Very simple. But if you want more, you can at any time simply cock back the lever like this, and you see it stays in the rearward position because it's held back by this little lever, and then you can aim as long as you want and then fire. And of course repeat this again until the magazine is empty. Great advantages, don't you think? Now today's task is to build a model that is really lethal and not just a toy, so that we can build a legit, viable version that is a true enhancement towards the old Chinese model. Now before we start, a few comments on the Shukonu concept. It has advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage is that it's magazine fed and that you can achieve a super high firing rate, higher than any other repeating crossbow I've ever seen. The disadvantage is that it makes the weapon really long. So if you move this back and forth, you can see that you need a lot of length because it goes from here to here. Whereas a conventional crossbow could end here. So it would make the weapon a lot shorter. Also what happens is that you need to fire rather short bolts because you have the lever effect. This is only so fast in shooting because this here only moves a stretch like this, while your hand moves a stretch that is probably 3 times longer, making it 3 times easier to cock the weapon. It's a true lever effect. So yes, you see my hand goes a long way, whereas the sled does not go quite as long. This is the physics behind this repeating crossbow. But it also means that if you would try to do this on a full-size arrow, you would need long arms and go all the way to have the same effect. So that doesn't fly. Therefore, there is a limit in bolt size. And you can also see this on the original Shukonu, where also very short bolts have been used for it. I think the bolts that are sold for the new Cobra R9 crossbow are perfect for the job, because they're long enough to cause damage, and they are of course fletched, have vanes. But on the other hand, they're also short enough to allow like a serious Shukonu repeating advantage. So can we build a true Shukonu enhancement chambered for these arrows? Sure, let me show you what I came up with. Meet the modern day assault Shukonu. Let me show you its features. So the weapon is a true replica of the smaller version. Of course it is really long. I mean, it's not terribly long. It's also entirely made from wood, therefore it's really light. It weighs about 1.7 kilograms, under 4 pounds actually. It is rubber powered, but of course a lot more rubber is used than for the small version. It's actually a looped TheraBand black and also added another loop of the red material. So it's serious draw force and serious power. It has same lever, although it's lying really flat to give to make the crossbow rather compact. It is long, but it is slim. You see, it's not as wide as a normal crossbow would be. I could outfit this with a regular crossbow limb, of course, but that would make it a little shorter, but also really, really wide. I think I prefer this because it's just much more compact. So also it has the same kind of lever system that locks the sled, the entire ammo box in place. But this time you can use it on both sides. So it can be used by right-handers and left-handers. But it also refers to the different shooting styles that you can do with this. And of course you can still cock it the conventional way. So just cock it like that. And you see it stays back. And now also you see that I inserted like iron sights here so that you can really aim with this thing, because I think that is very critical for a device like this. You need to be able to aim. And of course you can reload at any time. All you have to do is you lift the lever here up, then you take a bolt, then you feed it in the magazine, and you're back in business with one more bolt. Alright, for our first test we want to go full Shukonu mode, means firing as fast as we can. And we do this with 6 bolts loaded into the magazine, with the stock pressed against the chest. And then we hold the pistol grip with the left hand and press down on the trigger and on this lever here so that the weapon doesn't lock. And now it works just like a regular Shukonu. Let's try to sink all 6 bolts into my trusted archery mat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think I could do it a little quicker, but that was good enough for me. I think that's the fastest repeating crossbow with serious bolts that I've seen built in the modern way. Well, it wasn't very accurate, but for an attacker, that would have been a nasty assault run, don't you think? Now these bolts are fine and they're really good for target shooting, but I don't like the tips because they are really field tips, very harmless. I want to shoot full-on broadheads, but these tips here are not removable. They are actually glued into place. So can we exchange them against broadheads? Sure we can. I bought these really nice broadheads and also these inserts that you can screw on cheaply on the internet. Actually, you can find the link in the text description. And these can be glued into a bolt just as easily. You just saw it off at the right place and then glue the insert in, and then you have a bolt with a cool broadhead. So I made a few of them. And actually, as you can see in the comparison, they have the exact same length. Let me set this back a little bit. So they will fit in the magazine very easily. I love these broadheads because they're super sharp, but they're still not so fragile. So you can shoot this into a wooden board and they survive. But they, of course, have a lot more penetration power. You just have to make sure that they're in line with the vanes. Otherwise, they're not going to shoot well from the crossbow. To see the difference in penetration, we'll first load 2 conventional arrows into the magazine and then 2 of the broadhead arrows and compare the penetration effect. Okay, Shukonu mode again. So these were the conventional and now the broadheads. Let's compare the penetration. So we see that 2 of them penetrated a lot deeper than the others. So let's pull those out. This one didn't penetrate very far and it's the conventional one. Same for this. Now this here penetrated almost all the way and it is a broadhead. Same goes for this one. It actually hit a very fresh spot in the archery mat and therefore it still penetrated deeply. So clearly advantages for penetration and also of course for tissue harm. So now we have a 10-meter distance and now we will not go full auto mode, quote unquote, but we will go semi-full auto. Sorry, it's just a joke. Anyway, we're now gonna use the aiming system that's built in and we're gonna fire it from the shoulder. And for that reason, we first start by cocking the weapon, and this is done simply by pushing the lever back and then it locks in the rear position. And now we can aim through this and use the front piece here as an orientation point. Okay. Last shot. Four shots from 10 meters. Each one would have hit the opponent. Not so bad. I mean, of course, it is a wooden crossbow. There's very little metal in it actually, and therefore I think if you would make it out of proper materials with a higher precision, I think this could be really accurate. Why not? Here's our 4 shots, and as you see, each one penetrated really deep. It's like shooting small daggers. In order to test if they really survive if we're hitting wood, we're shooting it into my trusted poor old barn wall. And for that we're going into something that I call like a semi-auto mode. And we do it like this. You cock back, then you shoot, press the lever, reload, shoot, and one last time, shoot. Let's see if they've survived. Alright, here's my 4 broadheads, and as you see, this one actually went in a little sideways, so not into the fiber direction. Actually sticks in really, really hard. Let's see if I can still remove it. Yes, and it survived. All 4 of them are good. Will they actually work in the regular Cobra R9, which I think is a groundbreaking crossbow? Of course, because of the design, I think they're going to shoot just fine from the Cobra with or without a magazine attached. The beauty of this is that these are of course screwed on, so this means that you can still exchange them for regular field tips. No problem. And I think it gives the Cobra and also my homemade little crossbow a completely new feeling, because now it's lethal. How does my homemade crossbow, repeating crossbow, compare to the modded Cobra R9 with the 130-pound prototype bow limb, replacing the original 90-pound one? Well, this is the much stronger weapon, and of course it also looks more cool, I have to admit that. And also it has the same magazine capacity, and of course you could also put the same broadheads in it here. The only thing is, of course, it's a slower repeater than my homemade one. The Shukonu concept is actually quicker. This doesn't mean that this is slow, but there is a difference. But also, let's check the penetration power, the awesome penetration power of the broadheads when fired from this thing here. I have 3 bolts in the mag. Let's see. Well, what you see is you see almost nothing, because they went in almost all the way. So we actually need some pliers to get them out again. Wow. Oops. Whew. Yeah, this one is in very deep. And one reason why they go in that deep is because the veins and the blades are in the same level. This means they're aligned. So these cut the way for the veins. And in tissue, this will really increase penetration. Very much. All right, I attached a few questions and answers for those that want to know more about this. And anyway, if you want to leave me a tip, that would be most welcome. It's just a tip. I'm not trying to live on that now. And you will find the link to my Patreon site down below. So, what do I think about this new weapon? I love it. I love it. I think it's sleek enough. It looks interesting. It has mechanics inside. It works. So, I have every reason to be proud about it. I truly think this is probably the most practical rubber-based crossbow that I've ever made. I'm really convinced that this is a wonderful invention of mine, one of my best, I think. And I hope you liked it, because that's it for today. Thanks, and bye. Bye. So, questions and answers. First question, why not an exchangeable magazine? Well, because exchangeable magazines for bolts like this, specifically the Broadhead types, would be as big as this box, not shorter. It's kind of clumsy to carry around magazine boxes that big with you. So I think it is better to just keep it fixed, because it also limits the dimensions of the entire weapon. Then why not attaching the magazine from underneath? Well, that is a possibility. It works, but it requires two different issues. First of all, then the entire lever action would have to be downwards. And it's a kind of an awkward motion. It's so much easier to do it on the top than from below. And it would also no longer work as a conventional shoe canoe, because how do you want to do it? This way it's rather easy. This way it's almost impossible. Also, all the other alternative would be to make it a forward motion, but that is even more awkward. It's even more awkward to have a forward motion for this. So therefore I decided that this is the best. The original design also took care of that, and I believe that it needs to stay that way. Another question, will this be made into a professional product? No, we have no such plans. There is the Cobra R9, which I think is a great and groundbreaking product for the crossbow industry, which hopefully will one day be equipped with a magazine. I'm working with EK Archery on that. And that is good enough for the entire, I think, market. Well, this thing here really is a do-it-yourself project and a part of this channel going full hobby mode.